In this video, we will show you why you should not eat poultry, a scientific analysis into the human health impacts such as cholesterol, cancer, bacteria illness stemming from the septic conditions of poultry farming, antibiotic immunity fueling global illness, and pollutant infection from soiled environments by the farming and the processing industries. The dangers of eating poultry, a scientific analysis. Our investigation is the dangers of eating poultry, a scientific analysis. We look at the top scientific reasons why to not eat poultry, including chicken, turkey, duck, quail, game birds, and their products. We consume over 58 billion chickens per year globally, and the number is set to increase. This trend is coming from an emerging market of consumers and those wanting to consume chicken for its nutrients. But
I woke up and found you creeping, tiptoe. Oh girl, I know your secret. You dipping on me. Got that McNuggets loving. You went to McDonald's? It just ain't fair. Why can't you share your love with me?
Nice song, but you're still not getting any of my crispy, juicy McNuggets.
Girl, you got a 10-piece, please don't be stingy.
the chicken has some traditional ties in our culture, and it may be sensitive to hear the realities of eating chicken products. People love chicken around the world, celebrating it with holidays, parties, birthdays, weddings, and gatherings. The chicken is eaten by many people daily. So, what's the risk? Here are the top scientific reasons why you should not eat chicken. It's not better than red meat. Red meat and white meat are no better at lowering your cholesterol. In fact, they both contain high amounts. Dr. Greger at nutritionfacts.org research suggests that red and white meat equally have no added benefit to your health, and that this consumption is across the board high in cholesterol that has health impacts. Let's check it out.
In light of recommendations for heart-healthy eating from national professional organizations encouraging Americans to limit their intake of meat, the beef industry commissioned and co-wrote this review of randomized controlled trials comparing the effects of beef versus chicken and fish on cholesterol levels published over the last 60 years. They found that the impact of beef consumption on the cholesterol profile of humans is similar to that of fish and or poultry, meaning that switching from red meat to white meat likely wouldn't make any difference. And that's really no surprise, given how fat we've genetically manipulated chickens to be these days, up to 10 times more fat than they had a century ago. So there's a number of cuts of beef that have less cholesterol-raising saturated fat than chicken there at the bottom. So no surprise that white meat was found to be no better than red. But their conclusion was, therefore, you can eat beef as part of a balanced diet to manage your cholesterol. That's just like the Coke versus Pepsi thing, right? Even though Coke has less sugar than Pepsi, 16 spoonfuls of sugar per bottle instead of just 15. If studies on blood sugar found no difference between drinking Coke and drinking Pepsi, you wouldn't conclude that Pepsi may be considered when recommending diets for the management of blood sugars. You'd say they're both just as bad, so we should ideally consume neither. It's a standard drug industry trick to compare their fancy new drug not to the best out there, but to some miserable drug to make yours look better. Note they didn't compare beef to plant proteins, like in this study. But I was surprised as I started reading this that they found no benefit to switching to a plant protein diet either. What were they eating? Plant protein diet on the left, animal protein diet on the right. Breakfast looks okay. Instead of a burger for lunch, the plant group got a kidney bean and tomato casserole and a salad, nice. And dinner, instead of another burger, just some boring vegetables. Why was the cholesterol of the plant group as bad as the animal group? Oh, because they had the plant protein group eating 3 tablespoons of beef tallow every day, 3 tablespoons of beef fat margarine. Well, no wonder. This was part of a series of studies that tried to figure out what it was about meat that was so cholesterol-raising. Was it the animal protein? Was it the animal fat? So they created these fake meat products made to have the same amount of saturated fat and cholesterol by adding extracted animal fats and cholesterol. Who could they get to make such strange concoctions? The Ralston Purina dog food company. But what's crazy is that even if you keep the saturated animal fat and cholesterol the same by adding meat fats to the veggie burgers and making the plant group swallow cholesterol pills to equal it out, sometimes you still see an advantage in the plant protein group. See how they had them switch diets halfway through and their cholesterol levels kind of switched as well? You switch people from meat to tofu, their cholesterol goes down. But what if you switch them from meat to tofu plus lard? Then their cholesterol may stay the same, though tofu and lard may indeed actually be better than the meat, since it may result in less oxidized cholesterol. So even just swapping plant protein for animal protein may have advantages. But if we really want to maximize the power of diet to lower cholesterol, we may want to move entirely towards plants. The standard dietary advice, cut down on fatty meat, dairy, and eggs, may lower cholesterol 5 to 10%, but flexitarian or vegetarian diets may drop our levels from 10 to 15%. Vegan diets 15 to 25%, and healthier vegan diets up to 35%, like this study, showing a 61-point drop in LDL cholesterol within a matter of weeks.
The next point on our list is cancer and chicken consumption. Cancer is a worldwide epidemic, with our top 10 killers various cancers topping the list. Breast cancer and fat, especially in chicken, will be looked at next. The Institute of Cancer said that chicken is one of the top 5 foods containing cancerous links. Let's check out what Dr. Greger has to say about breast cancer and survival rate related to chicken consumption.
Though small consolation, one benefit of the fact that breast cancer is now the #1 cancer among women is that breast cancer survival is a very active area of research. For example, this major 2011 study, which followed about 4,000 women with breast cancer for 7 years. Not all of them made it. The researchers tried to figure out if there were any dietary factors that may have been associated with their early demise. They found 2 things, and the first was saturated fat intake. Those women who ate the most saturated fat after diagnosis increased the risk of dying in those 7 years by 41%. So where is saturated fat found in our diet so we can avoid it? First thing people tend to think of when they think of saturated fat is beef, right? Like a big, fat, juicy steak. But no, beef doesn't even make the top 5. This is from the National Cancer Institute. Number 1, cheese. Number 2, pizza, which is basically another way of saying cheese. Number 3, grain-based desserts, which means primarily cakes, cookies, and donuts, which is why pink donuts may not be the best way to celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Then number 4, ice cream, and number 5, chicken. Right? And you thought pink donuts were bad? I'm not making this up. And of course, grilling and frying meats makes them particularly carcinogenic due to the heterocyclic amine formation. So KFC better donate to breast cancer research. You've heard me talk about this before, right? Chicken is not a low-fat food, even skinless and steamed, and it is in fact one of the top 5 contributors of saturated fat in the American diet. Then comes pork, burgers, Mexi, which uses a lot of lard, beef, and number 10, reduced fat milk, which you may think, wait, that's only 2% fat, right? But that's 2% by weight, not by calories, which is what matters in the body. Reduced fat milk is actually 30% fat. It's like if you took a stick of butter and dunked it into a cup of water and said, see, now it's only 50% fat. No, it's still 100% fat. I mean, the water doesn't count, right? But anyways, these are the top 10 foods to stay away from to decrease our saturated fat intake, which may not only help prevent breast cancer in the first place, but to improve survival for those that have it.
The next top reason not to eat chicken is that chicken is known to be positive for multiple foodborne bacteria that can harm our health and potentially shorten our life. The top pathogens to human health are Campylobacter, Salmonella, and Listeria. Now, known pathogens around the world account for an estimated 14 million illnesses, over 60,000 hospitalizations, and over 1,000 deaths. These top pathogens are responsible for over thousands of deaths each year. Salmonella is a pathogen that grows easily and rapidly on poultry products. Signs to the human host include nausea, diarrhea, bloody stool, loose stool, and headaches. If untreated, this can lead to damage of the digestive tract, where it festers, and of the blood systems in your body. This can include your damage to your internal organs. However, the safety for sanitation in the public health sector has revealed that Salmonella will never really be over in terms of chicken outbreaks. So we're going to be wise that eating poultry and chicken products, you are going to run the risk of having a Salmonella infection. The next pathogen I want to feature quickly is Listeria monocytogenes, a foodborne pathogen containing in poultry products, especially ready to eat, cooked chicken products. Listeria commonly begins its life in animal feces, which then gets transferred to poultry products as we consume it. Listeria contamination in the food supply has been quoted by the food toxicity media body to be described as an exceedingly common occurrence. The ingestion of Listeria to humans causing illness to healthy and especially susceptible to vulnerable populations, such as those who are pregnant or already have a disease themselves. Listeria can fester in your body and develop into symptoms on average of 30 days after eating the poisoned food. And these symptoms can last around 1 month. Feverish symptoms can occur, and if not completely healed, complications can occur as well. If not treated, Listeria can cause brain and heart inflammation. So now that we know that Listeria is in commonly cooked and ready to eat chicken products, we can successfully prevent these infections. This last one is Campylobacter species, causing over 1.4 million infections per year in the United States alone. The bacteria of food poisoning looks something like this, in which will be exhibited by the symptoms of diarrhea. Now, a study looked at the resistant strains of Campylobacter species that are now developing in poultry. And because of poultry, the environment, this bacteria loves to flourish and create these resistant species. While the study warns that these Campylobacter infections are usually mild and limited to diarrhea infections, severe infections do occur. In rare cases, you can have paralysis as well as death, hospitalization, and is the leading cause of bacterial gastroenteritis in the United States. Let's check out a news report on Campylobacter and the Cargill chicken plant in the United States.
Over 70% of supermarket chickens are infected with the food poisoning bug Campylobacter, according to the Food Standards Agency. But for the poultry industry, dealing with the bug is a difficult challenge. Now, one of the biggest suppliers of supermarket chicken has been talking for the first time about how they're tackling the problem. David Gregory Kumar reports.
The scale of production at the Cargill chicken plant in Hereford is extraordinary. This is the first time cameras have been allowed inside.
How many birds are you getting through a week?
So 1.6 million a week. Behind us now we have around about 21,000 birds per hour on the 2 trucks.
Chicken from this plant supplies 2 major supermarkets. But claims earlier this year from the Food Standards Agency that food poisoning bacteria Campylobacter is found in nearly 3/4 of supermarket chicken has led to a major rethink.
Well, we've made lots of investment in the farms where our chickens are grown, and biosecurity is absolutely of the utmost importance. So we started there on the farm, and now we're making more investments in our factories as well.
In the Hereford plant, a new production line is going here, and for the first time it will feature a machine specifically designed to kill Campylobacter by blasting the chickens with steam. But this is new and complex technology.
There's been a huge amount of work and research and development over the last year or 18 months to perfect the technology and get it to the stage where it still leaves us the product that we want, but actually does the job of removing and killing Campylobacter.
So the new technology to kill Campylobacter will go in just here. But it's important to remember that's not the end of the story. We have a role to play too. Don't wash your chicken before you cook it, and remember to cook it properly.
Cargill say the new measures have reduced Campylobacter by nearly 40%, and that will only improve further when the new production line begins work. David Gregory Kumar, BBC News.
To recap, the Campylobacter species lives normally in chicken and poultry digestive system. As they are slaughtered, the bacteria becomes contaminated into the chicken products. The potency of Campylobacter is strong enough to make you sick even through a drop of chicken juice, as it is very important to clean thoroughly to accurately kill the bacteria that are multiplying on these chicken products. As colonies multiply in the chickens, they are safe for these chickens. However, when the colonies get transferred onto the chicken products and us humans, we consume it, we cannot successfully foster the pathogens in our bodies and we thus become ill. More than E. coli, more than Salmonella infections, Campylobacter bacteria is the most common foodborne illness, led to hospitalizations and experiencing symptoms from mild diarrhea to intestinal issues and even developing into paralysis and death. So we really have to be careful there, guys, about eating chicken and its potentiation for pathogens. Our next issue is antibiotic resistance of the 21st century. This study looked at U.S.-based food animals in antimicrobials and its impact on human health. Now, for decades, antibiotic resistance has been seen as a global health issue. Now that the major World Health Organizations see this challenge of food and microbials and its impact on human health. Now, antimicrobial resistance is due to its overuse and inappropriate use of antibiotics. In poultry farming, specifically as we're talking about poultry today, and leading to drug-resistant bacteria. There's evidence that animal-to-human transition of antibiotic resistance. As you can see here in this graph, this is a propagation of resistant strains to eating the flesh contaminated in our poultry and chicken products. In summary, the resistance of antibiotics and the growth of superbiotic species that are infecting humans can be related back to poultry and the chickens that we eat. In summary, we got to make the right choices to not eat poultry for the sake of our immunity. The next issue of why you shouldn't eat chicken, a scientific analysis, is the chicken industry and the environment. It's a major pollutant and a health hazard. So what's it like living near a chicken plant? We take a look as the poultry farm are notorious for mismanaging its environment, such as polluting their chicken waste water and putting this wastewater into the soil rather than to accurately process the water. We're going to take a look at a Tyson plant in the United States and see what it's like living next to this plant.
Alleged environmental problems, a big reason many said they didn't want Tyson as a neighbor. In a story you'll only see right here on 41 Action News, reporter Sarah Plake went to Sedalia to see just what it's like living next to the Tyson processing plant.
For some, their opinion of the Tyson plant just depends on which way the wind is blowing. Others say it's a great job opportunity. But for the people down the street in the tiny town of Dresden, they don't seem to hold a very high opinion of the Tyson plant.
In a way, it has decreased the value of this neighborhood, but I mean, what plant doesn't?
The Tyson Chicken Processing Plant has been a fixture in the Sedalia area for 25 years, looming over the modest township of Dresden, not even half a mile away.
This is where I've grown up, basically.
Beyond the complaints about the stench, many longtime Dresden folks will tell you the same story.
These grain trucks go by here 50 mile an hour or whatever, and I mean, it's just grain dust everywhere in my house. I mean, I can dust it, and then the next thing I know, I'm dusting it again.
The rumble of grain and chicken trucks is constant. Dresden's sandwiched between the grain mill on one end and the plant on the other. Neighbors complain about the traffic. Around 400 to 500 workers are under the plant's roof at any given time. But the one thing that gets people going,
the water situation, I'm still on a well, and half the time, you know, it's down and we don't get the water that we should have, murky.
You figure when PSI comes in, they use approximately 100,000 gallons of water just to clean the plant.
And it's not just a concern about where the water is, there's also an underlying fear about what's in it. Tyson Foods doesn't have a stellar environmental record. Over the years, Tyson has paid out millions of dollars in fines after the Sedalia plant leaked chemicals and untreated wastewater into the creeks.
I used to fish down here in Muddy Creek, but I won't even dare go in there and catch a fish now.
But the Sedalia plant does employ around 1,600 people. Surrounding farmers grow for Tyson or have sold land to the company.
I can't think anybody that has an issue with it. I mean, I've got a lot of friends that work over there at Tyson's. I mean, it's good money, it's good benefits. You get used to the smell after a while.
Maybe except for people in Dresden. But when you ask why they don't leave,
this is my home.
Sarah Plake, 41 Action News.
In conclusion, poultry and chicken is not safe to eat and should be avoided. The top reasons that we covered are high cholesterol, cancer, pathogenic infection via Salmonella, Listeria, and Campylobacter species, the antibiotic resistance epidemic, and environmental degradation. If you'd like to find out more about chickens and the imposing health problems, check out Dr. Greger's library at nutritionfacts.org, organized on his website. The link is below. Also, another informative and entertaining way to access the chicken industry, check out The Chickens subject from Last Week Tonight by John Oliver. The link is below. Have a great day, guys, and all the featured videos, the link is below. Check out my website at The Vegan Food Scientist and YouTube channel. Have a great day and keep it vegan, y'all.